Welcome back to part 3 of our leadership theory series. In this video, we will learn more about situational leadership. You may already know the various traits and styles that come with different forms of leadership. Today, we will view leadership through a slightly different lens. More specifically, we will see how different situations can preempt different leadership behavior. Just follow me. As its name suggests, situational leadership argues that the right leadership comes from behavior in different situations. Compared to part 1 and part 2 of this series, where we talked about traits and styles of leadership, situational leadership is more nuanced. But how? You may ask, how is it more nuanced? Well, remember how in leadership traits and styles, most of it was determined by fixed conditions. For example, are you tall, handsome, and rich? If not, you cannot or might not be a leader. Or like what leadership styles emphasize on? Employee relations or task completion? Which do you prioritize more? Answering differently will place you on different parts of the managerial grid. They don't quite consider the situation you are in. But this time, situational leadership suggests that the right leadership behavior is more about reading and responding to contingencies. In 1977, management theorists Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard found that leader effectiveness is determined by group's maturity. But after even more research, they moved away from this concept of group maturity. Instead, they focus on readiness, which involves the ability and willingness to work. For instance, do the group members know how to do the task assigned to them? Have they done the task before? Are they already doing it? If the answers are yes, they might be good indicators of the team's ability. But that's only half of the readiness question. We must also consider other things like confidence, commitment, and motivation. After all, these will affect the group's willingness to perform the task. You can try repeating these statements after me. I can. I will. I want to. Sounds very strong and determined, don't they? Statements like these indicate the willingness to perform the task. But it is only when we consider both ability and willingness to perform the task can we know the readiness of others. Let us now take a closer look at the concept with this figure. When a group has a high level of performance readiness, they need less direct authority such as telling and less persuasion such as telling. They will need less direct supervision as well. So, when groups change in their readiness, effective leaders must match their leadership style to the group's needs. For instance, think about the time when you started on a new foreign project at school or at work. You and your group are not quite performing yet. You all don't really know how to do the tasks. You are not confident in your ability to do so. In this case, you and your group have low readiness. How would you have liked your team leader to guide you? Perhaps you would appreciate structure. Knowing what the next steps are can give you a clearer goal. Then, maybe after understanding the project better, you and your team start getting excited about the project. There are so many other possibilities. At this point, you will need your leader to guide you in terms of relationship behavior. Perhaps they will guide you through while explaining why certain things happen in certain ways. This is called selling. But what about a group that knows how to do the job and is confident and committed and motivated already? Do they still need a leader? In such cases, effective leaders will appoint decision-making responsibilities to the group members. By empowering them, the team can create different ways and means to complete tasks and evaluate their own performance. Perhaps you are not sold on this situational approach to leadership, but hold your horses. There are 3 things that I want you to think about before we end our video. Firstly, does the approach provide a way for organizations to identify persons for effective, flexible, and adaptive leadership? Not quite. Companies have to use extra tools in order to find such people. This, therefore, makes the approach rather limited in its application to real-life corporate settings. Second, this approach does not quite consider the diversity of people and settings. In other words, the approach does not help to identify people who can communicate effectively and differently to various types of people and places. With our cosmopolitan world today, this is an important factor when choosing leaders. Lastly, this model for leadership ignores a key skill. Good leaders don't just carry out their jobs. They motivate and inspire others, and not just to better performance but also higher moral and ethical behavior. This was not taken into account in this approach. So, whichever situation you are in, pay attention to your leader or to yourself to see how effective leadership is carried out in the future.